here on the John Fredericks Show. Senator, Democrat, Fairfax, Chap Petersen, joining us now. Senator Petersen, good to have you with us, sir.
John, it's great to be on. Thank you for having me.
So what do you think? Terry McAuliffe, I told Mr. Trump, I said, when you get elected, I've got my pick for you for Commerce Secretary, Governor of Virginia. Terry McAuliffe does a great job in going around the world and bringing jobs to America. What do you think?
Yes, it's a no-lose situation for Terry. He wins either way.
He wins, right? No matter who wins, he becomes the Commerce Secretary.
Yes, exactly.
Isn't that worth an invitation to happy hour?
Yeah, we'll get you there, John. We'll get you there. By the way, I'm having a Redskins Pride Caucus event. I think it's February 23rd or February. It's in February, but we'll get you an invite. We'll get you there. God will be there.
Okay, let's see. February 23rd, Redskins Caucus. I got to weasel my way into that somehow.
You got to be there.
Yeah, I got to get in there. Okay, now, Senator Petersen, I'm very excited. This took a lot of courage. You've introduced emergency legislation in the General Assembly to get rid of the Republican Party of Virginia loyalty oath pledge that they have basically shoved in the face of unsuspecting voters on Super Tuesday's primary. As you know, this primary is not closed. It is open. It's within the laws of how the General Assembly has said it. It's taxpayer funded, and the poll workers are taxpayer funded who have to figure this whole thing out. Tell our audience why you introduced it and what chance do you have of passage?
Well, the long answer is, John, is I've never been a fan of these party loyalty oaths, either Democratic or Republican side. The short answer is I actually met with some registrars from Northern Virginia earlier this week, and they told me that it's just logistically going to be a nightmare trying to administer this thing, and that's what motivated me to actually file the legislation and also put an emergency clause on it so we can try and head off what's going to be, in my opinion, a potential catastrophe on primary day.
So basically, when you put this in, you said there's no reason why the government should seize property from citizens prior. I'm sorry, I'm looking at something.
No, you're looking at my forfeiture bill.
Right, forfeiture bill. Keep that one aside. So
we'll talk about that. Yeah, go ahead.
In order to get this done, what has to happen?
Well, I would have to have a 4/5 vote, so I got to get 80% of the senators and the delegates to approve it, which is unlikely, but who knows? But the bottom line is I'm going to put it out there. But in order for it to take effect immediately, as opposed to on July 1st when most state laws will take effect, it's got to pass by a 4/5 majority. So I'd have to get it passed and get it to the governor's desk and get it signed. Now, the interesting question is people are going to say, well, aren't absentee ballots already being mailed? Yes, they are being mailed, but interestingly enough, you can't put the voter oath in the absentee ballot. So they mail them without the voter oath. Then I think they mail them a separate envelope. Now, who's paying for that, God only knows. But the bottom line is I don't think the oath really matters until Election Day, because I think otherwise you really can pretty much ignore it and just vote and send it back. And by the way, that raises the question, if you vote absentee but you don't send back the oath absentee, does your vote not count? I'm not sure. But all I can do is try and save Election Day at this point.
I tell you, what a disaster. And in your release, one of the things that you said is that you're trying to save Republicans from themselves, which I thought was an interesting comment. This thing is so egregious, taxpayer funded, so that our audience understands a lot of this stuff never gets out of committee, so it never sees the light of day, so we never really see who's for it, who isn't. So what happens? How do we see a show of hands on this? What's the procedure?
Well, this will go to the Privileges and Elections Committee. They will take it up probably next week or the week after. And, obviously I'm going to try and get a hearing on it as soon as possible because I think it needs to get acted on as soon as possible. If it passes the Senate with an 80% vote, then it'll go over to the House, and the same process. It's got to go through the P&E committee there and then go to the floor. And if it gets an 80% vote and it's the same version that I filed, which hopefully it will be, then it goes straight to the governor's desk.
So, Senator, who is the chairman of that committee?
Gosh, that's a good question. We just changed them. I'm not sure.
I don't know either. We'll have to find out.
I'd have to look up on the internet. I mean, that's so many changes around here. Maybe Jill Vogel? It may be Jill Vogel.
All right, we'll find out. So I guess
my
question is,
if you find out, let me know, so I can understand what the heck I'm doing down here.
So let me ask you this: so if the chairman decides, look, I just don't want to deal with this, what happens? I mean, does it ever come up where people actually have to go on that record?
Yeah, I think what will happen is if we're pretty good in the House and the Senate that everybody gets a vote. Now, sometimes you might not like it. In the House, they used to have subcommittees, which your bill could die in a subcommittee. My recollection is the Speaker's doing away with that process, or I thought he might be. In the Senate, typically you'll get a Senate vote. Now, the vote could be any number of things. It could be pass the bill by indefinitely, which is essentially defeat it. It could be lay it on the table, which is basically take no action, and then the next committee meeting it dies if nobody acts on it. Or it could be to pass it. But I expect to get a vote on it. I mean, that's our, we don't just leave bills without giving them a vote.
Well, I would love when you have the hearing, let me know. I would love
We'll
to
get you there. We'll have some TV cameras, and it's going to put people on the spot, but you know what? The RPV, they created this thing. I don't know why they just didn't have an open primary. Look, I got news for you. Democrats are going to be voting for Bernie or Hillary. They're not going to be focused upon the Republican primary. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of.
It is so stupid. It is so egregious. It is an insane thing to do. It's a PR nightmare. But look, the whole thing was done, Senator Petersen, for one reason, and that was to stop Trump from winning Virginia. That was why the whole thing was concocted. That is why I'm so outraged over it. And I'm hoping that the General Assembly sees how ridiculous this is. And you think about the PR nightmare. I mean, I've got my mom, who is 87. She's been voting in Republican primaries since Wendell Willkie, whenever he had. And, she told me the other day, she said, I'm not signing anything. I'm not signing their stupid pledge. So she says, call Wavy TV. And I'll tell them that when they try to throw me out. I mean, why would you get involved in this? This is so stupid. It's beyond imagination. Let me tell you the other thing that's outraged us. Your majority leader, or the majority leader, Tommy Norman. So we get there on Wednesday, and he tosses the press out of the floor of the Senate chamber. Now, that is, I got to tell you, Senator, that is outrageous. Now we're up in the galley. Now, you can say, well, you can still see what's going on in the galley. Here's the difference. We were downstairs at the table. We could see the lobbyist who was talking to who. We could go tap you on the shoulder, ask a question. Now we're up in the galley. We're isolated. We don't see what's going on. We don't see the detail. I mean, why are lobbyists allowed on the floor and the press is banished to the galley? That's outrageous.
It's stupid, and I didn't vote for those rules, and I don't understand what's being accomplished. And I understand that. Well, I don't understand it. I mean, it's some type of revenge thing, which has nothing to do with me and nothing to do with our caucus, and I don't get it. So, we may speak on it.
You're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I get that Senator Norman was upset by some of the coverage he got, but a lot of us...
that happens, man.
It's part of it. Yeah. And a lot of us gave, like me, I gave Senator Norman what I thought was very fair coverage on everything. I always got him on whenever he wanted to be on. And so, you're mad at a couple of journalists and everybody gets banished to the galley. I think it's outrageous.
Well, John, and this is a point I've made to you as friends, that, we need to support the journalists in Virginia that cover our business. And we need to support your radio show. We need to support the news. We need to do... It's like if I'm on a sports team, I need to do interviews with the local press because I need to keep people interested in what's going on. And my biggest concern is not that the press has too much access or they might be writing negative stories about it. It's that they stop caring because nobody cares. That's my concern. And so the bottom line is, we need to be accessible to the press because we need to be accessible to our constituents. And that means, having people on the floor. And, if we don't want to have them in caucus meetings, then that's fine. If we don't want to have them interviewing people during debates, of course, that's fine. But subject to some, reasonable protocols. I don't understand why the Republicans did that or why the majority leader did that. again, I'm not privy to what goes on, but to me it's stupid.
It's their war on the press, and it's a really bad idea. I hope you guys can find a way to change it. And I know that Senator Tom Garrett introduced something that's going nowhere, but I would love to see a show of hands on whether or not those 40 senators, of which you are one of, want to kick us out and throw us out of the floor. I would love to see who pushes what button on that one.
Right.
Talk about transparency. Right?
Right.
So now this got hidden in rules, and it's like, well, it's, rules. I can't do anything about it. It's just rules. You got to talk to rules. It's just rules. But I would like to see it come to the floor where everybody has to vote green or red. You're going to kick us out or not, go on the record. I mean, that's what government should be. You should be transparent and accountable. Am I right?
Right. I agree.
All right.
I agree.
We want to get to your legislation to limit civil forfeiture of property prior to conviction. I just want to tell my audience, this is not just Virginia. This is a national epidemic where basically law enforcement can come in, seize your property, whether it's in your home or your car, before you've been convicted of anything, whether it be belongings that you have, jewelry, money, whatever. And it is a nightmare to try to recover it. So what's happened is the forfeiture of property prior to conviction is now a funding mechanism for local law enforcement in their basic entities. This is how it's become an epidemic. Senator Petersen, can you explain to our audience what your legislation is, how this has gotten to where it is, and how we stop it?
Okay, here's where I'm coming from. We have a situation with law enforcement basically seizing property when they make an arrest, holding the property, and then basically taking ownership of the property, selling it, what have you, whether it's cars, money, drugs, what have you. Even when there's not a conviction. Now, if there's a conviction, then there's a process called civil forfeiture where property that is seized as part of the conviction, let's say it's money, let's say it's drugs, let's say it's a stolen car, is then basically retitled to the law enforcement agency, and then they can sell it or give it back to the rightful owner or what have you. However, what we have is situations where there's not a conviction. In fact, in some cases, a person is acquitted, but the agency continues to hold their property, and then they have to sue to get it back. And in that suit, oftentimes they don't have money. Maybe they're not in the country legally. There's all sorts of situations where they just either can't or will not contest to get their property back, so the property is just seized. Which, again, this is property that's seized when there's no conviction. And the most insidious part, John, is that more and more this forfeiture, which is being seized, is then baked into the law enforcement budget, so they actually depend on it as revenue to support their activities as opposed to just being supportive of the taxpayer. And so you have, in essence, for-profit policing, which we've always been opposed to in Virginia. We want to enforce the law, not enforce the law in order to make money. So my bill would simply, let's go back to the standard that if somebody's not acquitted, their property is returned to them. Now, there's a couple small exceptions, like, for example, we have a plea bargain, someone accepts a lesser charge or something like that. But the gold standard would be if somebody's acquitted, their property is returned. They don't have to hire a lawyer and sue to get it back. It just gets returned.
Now, this has been bipartisan, Senator, in the past, but truth
right.
be told, the Godfather, Dick Saslaw, and Majority Leader now, Tommy Norman on the Republican side, they massacre this every session before it sees the light of day. Why?
Well, the folks on the Finance Committee, to them, it's, I'm not going to say what their mentality is, but I think to some people it's just free money. They're like, well, this is money we can use in our state budget. This is more money for state police, more money for prosecutors, more money for whomever. And, by and large, these people that have their property seized, they're probably not good people. They probably don't speak good English. They certainly can't afford a good attorney. And, the heck with them. So, I just think that there's very few, there's no lobbyists for people that have their property seized. But there certainly are lobbyists for law enforcement agencies that benefit from this.
Well, there's too much money stolen in this way, and it's almost like they're stealing more than the robbers are doing. And this is outrageous. It's I commend you for putting this in, because it's so easy to just keep taking the money from whatever source it is. But this is really a violation of people's civil rights. I mean, when in America do you get things taken from you by the government before you're convicted of anything, right? You're acquitted, and then you can't get it back. I mean, it's out. Right. It's just mind-boggling how we've allowed this to happen. So I commend you for that. Let's get to former Governor Bob McDonnell. When we were in your office at Chap Petersen World Headquarters a couple of weeks ago, we were conjecturing about whether or not the Supremes would take up Bob McDonnell's plea. They have. He stays out of jail. Were you surprised by that?
You know what? It's funny, John. I hadn't really thought about it. And then the night before, that Thursday night, I was at a dinner in Richmond, and I ran into Bob. And he told me that the writ panel was going to be decided the next day. The writ was going to be decided the next day. And he was very nervous about it. And, we spoke about it as friends. And then the next day I read the papers, it happened. So, I'm happy for him. In terms of the political issues, the legal issues, we could spend, 30 minutes on it. So the short answer is I can't say I am surprised. I mean, the Supreme Court is clearly interested in this Hobbs Act conviction and, the circumstances of it and whether or not U.S. attorneys are being over-aggressive. So we'll see. I mean, obviously someone on the Supreme Court has an interest in writing an opinion on this, and I don't think they'd be interested in writing an opinion unless someone was interested in setting aside the conviction. So I'd say right now he's probably I don't want to say in a good position because it's never in a good position to be convicted, but for his appeal, I think it's looking pretty favorable.
You want to make a prediction?
Yeah, I predict the Supreme Court's going to come down with an opinion saying that the law was overbroad and his conviction was, part of the overbreadth of that interpretation, and will remand it for a new trial. And I've been saying this for years. Obama will pardon him.
That's right. You have been saying that forever.
I said that, and then I think he'll pardon Rod Blagojevich too.
Yes, I think you've been saying that for some time. We'll see if it. Senator Petersen, this week, what's your top priority?
Keeping the roads clear. I mean, we're going to get crushed with snow up in Northern Virginia. I already had a lot of complaints last night, hitting me on the Twitter and on the Facebook about the roads being in lousy shape, and I know VDOT's mobilizing. Hopefully we're going to address that. But that's my number one concern: just getting people home safely for the weekend and trying to dig out, come Sunday.
Okay, I've got Governor McAuliffe on my show tomorrow. Do you have one question I should ask him?
Gosh. Nope, just keep an open mind, keep smiling, that's all.
All right, keep an open mind, keep smiling. We want to thank Senator Chap Petersen for being with us. Yep. Got to read his blog. Go to oxroadsouth.com. This is the first read that I have every day. Go to oxroadsouth.com. Senator Petersen, thanks for being with us, and thanks for inviting me to testify at your Republican Get Rid of the Pledge hearing. Can't wait.
I will have you there, John.